Hello, you're watching Initiative Africa. My name is Asha Samput. Welcome to your weekly magazine featuring Africa on the move through smart innovations and initiatives that work. In this new edition, we take you in the footsteps of the diaspora in France, but also in Canada with our guest. Let's get on with the show with our top stories today. Actor, director, screenwriter Eric Pounewatchy is an artist convinced of the potential of art and documentary to better understand the world. A child from the Central African diaspora who arrived in France at a very young age, works in both fiction and documentary with a strong passion to share knowledge. Here's our guest of the day.
The authorities do not recognize the profession of filmmaker, so there are no schools and no courses, so most directors learn on the job.
The Afromusée de Montréal has succeeded in a few years in establishing itself as a guarantor of knowledge of the history of Africa and its diaspora, an initiative to follow.
It's a museum that is really unique because we don't have any others like it in Montreal. Of course, we have a lot of history museums, but history about a community really makes the difference in the Montreal museum landscape.
In the Central African Republic, an NGO has decided to provide shoes to the whole country, an ambition that demonstrates the strength of the local community spirit.
When I was in Bangui, I often asked people to buy these shoes because they are very beautiful. They don't smell, no odors of the skins. They are just like machine-made shoes in big factories.
I'm now taking you to Canada for this first report. In Montreal, more precisely, a multicultural city where the African diaspora is very present. A relatively recent immigration which, according to official censuses, mainly concerns nationals of East and North Africa. To represent their history, that of the continent, but also to raise awareness against racism, a museum has been created. It is the Afromusée. Our correspondent Jean-Baptiste Nyabienda visited this unique space, strongly supported by the African community on site. Let's find out.
Montreal, Quebec, the Afromusée, a unique museum boasting the African culture, but also Africa, Africans themselves, as well as Afro-descendants across Canada, their cultures and living heritage. In this exceptional setting where African history and the continent's rich culture are showcased, people also come to connect and learn.
Bonjour!
Hello, how are you? Very well, thank you. Welcome to the Afromusée. Thank you. Is this your first visit? Yes. How do you know the Afromusée? I heard about it. I had the opportunity to film and I wanted to come back to see you. Okay then. Welcome. Thank you, thank you. So here it is, a museum that talks about the presence of the African experience, mainly in Montreal, but also Canada. The exhibition here is based a lot on voice, so it's the voice. Really, we want the communication to be as direct as possible.
The museum hosts L'Afrique Montréalaise, which is the ongoing series of exhibitions and features the work of Afro-descendants, whether writers, historians, researchers or archivists.
It's a museum that is really unique because we don't have any others like it in Montreal.
Of course, we have a lot of history museums, but history about a community really makes the difference in the Montreal museum landscape. We can compare, for example, art museums with objects, work of arts, or even other kinds of objects. But here we'll see the emotional side with testimonies. For example, we have Dorothy William in 5 videos divided into 5 parts where we see the whole path and the fact of having immaterial dimensions that bring real added value to the archives which are presented. One of the museum missions is to fight against discrimination and racism facing Black communities in general and African diaspora in particular. Today, Jacques, a cultural agitator, is hosting a conference at the museum to discuss the challenges of the Afro-Quebec experience in the workplaces, as well as highlighting possible solutions that can be useful to Black communities.
Tonight at the Afromusée, we talked about systemic racism. challenges faced by Black entrepreneurs, and even cultural diversity here in Quebec. How do we manage to succeed? It's by finding your will, what you really want to do with your life, what you would like to change in your life, having the right state of mind, changing those around you because those around you have an influence on our actions and influence our journey. So that's what's important. It's a museum, an Afro museum, where you come to educate yourself and learn. There are many people who don't know what Afro culture is, so I invite anyone to visit the Afromusée and learn about the culture.
The museum started back in 2014 under the name Espace Mushagalusa, as an art gallery and cultural center. By 2018, it was set to close due to lack of funding, but the community stood up for this great cause.
It was often for financial reasons because it's expensive to set up this kind of projects. There is also a challenge to be understood because it's all new what we're doing here, even if the community has been asking for it for a very long time. It's really new what we're doing. A house like this is new. In 2018, we almost closed. There was a vocal campaign by the community. A very strong mobilization. At the time, it was Mushagalusa Center, and to prevent it from closing, not only did the community raise enough money, but at the same time, the community with me, obviously, we took measures to work on a sustainable project.
For the first time in Quebec, the African culture is currently well represented with its own home and its own history, connecting it to the mother continent and highlighting many stories of communities that Quebecers and Canadians have never heard of before.
We can say that we get the African out of Africa, but we can't get Africa out of the African. So African one day, African always. The people of the diaspora have this special bond with the mother continent. That's it.
Sometimes destroy, often build, always serve is the title of the documentary realized in 2014 in the Central African Republic by our guest Eric Pounewatchy. A return to the country to better understand what the population is really going through, but also the opportunity to rediscover his family origins and to get involved through associative work. He spoke to our reporter, Xavier Rabineau.
The army is conducting community service in the Central African Republic as a way to reconcile itself with the population. In 2014, you addressed this topic in your documentary, Sometimes Destroy, Often Build, Always Serve. Can you tell us more?
The documentary was close to my heart. There has been a political and military crisis in the Central African Republic for many years.
À ces tragiques événements. Et pendant cette crise,
many people, unfortunately, witnessed these tragic events.
Par la population centrafricaine.
During this crisis, the population did not see eye to eye with the Central African Army.
Militaires. Et ils sont super.
I happen to have cousins in the military, and they are great.
Donc, je comprenais pas quoi. Ce que je me suis dit, c'est que
they have a good mindset. So I didn't understand why. And I thought, well, there are bad apples everywhere. Why not try to show both sides of the Central African Army? So I proposed this project to the Ministry of the Army. The French Embassy heard about this project and supported me.
A entendu parler de ce projet, m'a soutenu, parce que pour moi,
because it was important to show a Central African Army at the service of the people. And that's pretty much it.
Voilà.
Bangui, the capital of the Central African Republic, is your hometown. You arrived in France as a baby at age 1. What ties do you have with your country of origin today?
What ties? You mean family? I only have a few people left. I have 1 or 2 cousins who are still here, and above all, I have an aunt who, thank God, is still alive, and a cousin with whom I'm in touch. Today, it's easier with new technologies, and it's much cheaper.
Les nouvelles technologies, c'est beaucoup moins cher, et je me coupe pas parce que ça, c'est...
And I don't cut myself off, because our parents always told us the most important thing in life is family.
Le plus important, c'était la famille. Et ben, on essaye de continuer.
And I will try to continue following this advice.
On lâche pas.
We don't give up. When we can, we go to Bangui. We talk, and without going into details, we do what we can.
On fait ce qu'on peut, sans rentrer dans les détails. Mais voilà,
but it's a mutual exchange. Besides, it's great to have 2 cultures.
C'est tellement beau d'avoir 2 cultures.
You produced a video clip for a television series in which you called on the Alter Ego Central-Africa Association to fight against poverty and AIDS in Bangui and the rest of the world. Can you tell us more about the Alter Ego Central-Africa Association? What does it entail?
L'association, bon, je vais d'abord parler du clip.
The association? Well, let me first talk about the clip. The association made the clip in partnership with big stars from the football world.
Parce que j'ai mon petit frère, Pounewatchy, qui est un ancien joueur professionnel.
With the help of my little brother, Pounewatchy. He's a former professional player. I explained to him what was happening in Bangui and the number of AIDS victims. Honestly, I didn't think it was so many.
C'est aussi grave. Donc, nous, notre association, c'était avant tout promouvoir.
Our association's aim was, above all, to promote sport, by any means, to bring more belief and hope to young people about their future. To know that everything is possible if you really want it.
Comment dire, de conviction sur leur avenir, savoir que tout est possible si on le veut vraiment. Donc, tout naturellement,
so quite naturally, my brother responded positively and contacted me. There was Drogba, Makalele, and others. And yes, there was Thierry Henry. The message of the video is to help the Central African youth.
À travers ce clip, le message était
wake up, fight, nothing is lost. It's a message to tell them there's always hope and nothing that cannot be changed.
Pour leur dire que il n'y a pas de fatalité. Voilà.
In 2018, with the Doc Africa TV project, you helped to support documentary film projects in the Central African Republic. Tell us about your collaboration. What did these projects bring to you?
Qu'est-ce que cela vous a apporté?
Oui, le projet, c'était de faire un festival.
The plan was to hold a documentary film festival in the Central African Republic. We put out ads to recruit several documentary makers and directors, documentary filmmakers.
Plusieurs documentaristes, réalisateurs documentaristes, pour justement qui nous amènent des projets dans lesquels
so that we have projects on specific themes to make this festival happen.
Ce festival. Mais malheureusement, il y a eu des...
But unfortunately, there have been repeated disruptions and wars. The security of such a festival couldn't be guaranteed. So we've abandoned the project for now.
Donc on a abandonné le projet pour le moment.
Louis Vogt, the initiator of this project, said, "Training, which is so important, is lacking to all these people working on these projects." What do you think?
Qu'en pensez-vous?
Je salue Louis Vogt, qui est l'initiateur du projet.
I'd like to acknowledge Louis Vogt, the creator of the Central Africa project.
Festival du film documentaire.
He was behind the first documentary film festival in Central Africa. It was called the Balabala Festival.
Et à travers ces échanges,
and through these exchanges, we realized there was a problem in Central Africa, namely that the authorities do not recognize the profession of filmmaker. So there are no schools and no courses.
La plupart des réalisateurs sont formés.
So most directors learn on the job. Things need to change.
Il faudrait faire des écoles pour arriver
Schools should be set up to produce more filmmakers, directors. If not, there will be few directors who can express themselves.
Welcome to the second part of our show. We now head for the country of origin of our guest this week, the Central African Republic. During a visit last month, experts from the International Monetary Fund welcomed encouraging signs of an economic recovery driven by oil revenues. GDP growth is expected to reach 3.4% in 2022, with good prospects for the coming months. This is obviously a context more conducive to private initiative, like, for example, that of these men and women gathered within the Association of Leather Craftsmen of Bombari, or Asakuba. Bertrand Médard-Gaimas, our correspondent, met them in the east of the country, 375 kilometers from the capital Bangui. Take a look.
About 50 men and women are crafting artisanal products from animal skins and tree bark under this shed. Asakuba is their Association of Leather Craftsmen of Bombari, the fifth largest city in the Central African Republic, located at the center of the country.
We did not have a place when the association was created in 1991. Shortly, the town hall sent our file to the domain, which has given us this space since 1995. But long before, we were scattered before finding ourselves here today.
Here, Matthias Jr. Mandaba, president of the association, and his friends are busy every day putting on shoes for the inhabitants of the city and passing visitors.
In one day, unless overloaded or impeded, a craftsman can make 3 pairs of shoes, not more. If you receive a direct order, you can do it alone, but if it is an order addressed to the association, we work on the assembly line. The assembly is done here and the finishing is done with the team under the shed over there.
Shoes, handbags or handmade belts are sold on site by Bruno Arsène and his colleagues to enable them to support their families.
This model is the one called Duke Saga, which is ordered by a customer. I am doing the assembly. By this evening, I would have finished the sole.
Poor road conditions and insecurity mean that traffic is scarce or non-existent between Bangui and Bombari. It's not easy under these conditions to sell the products. The main clientele of the association is largely made up of expatriate visitors working or passing through Bombari. When I was in Bangui, I often asked people to buy these shoes because they are very beautiful. They don't smell, no odors of the skins. They are just like machine-made shoes in big factories. With raw materials found locally, Asakuba is undoubtedly the only craft industry in the Central African Republic capable of supplying the country with quality products recognized throughout the nation.
We work with goat skins, sheep skins, and ox skins. These used tires, we buy them from transporters. They will serve as the soles of our shoes.
And as we can see today, the notoriety of the association attracts more and more women who are interested in the profession of craftsmanship. We are in a world where women must do things in the same way as men. And I'm happy and proud of what I do among men. It's a job that helps me support my family. In the morning, my children can have breakfast and find a meal when they return from school. Salome is the pride of her peers. Her courage and her determination already force the admiration of many people who also have the desire to follow in her footsteps. When I come here and I see a woman among them who works so well, and that makes me really happy. She's the one who made these shoes that are in my bag. I also ordered a bag, but the gentleman told me to come back at 3 p.m. Honestly, I like their products. For Asakuba, the objective is not only to trade in quality products, it is also job creation, in particular for women by offering them, for example, free training. And the activities of the Bombari Association go even further with, for example, the provision of land for cultivating vegetables to widows who can no longer go to their fields because of the dangers and the insecurity that reign in the country.
Merci.
We are grateful for this gesture, which allows us widowed women to have this land to cultivate. We have lost our husbands and children, and we are destitute. It must be said that the city, once flourishing with several agri-food industries installed here, has seen its economy collapse, and that few high-potential activities remain. Finding a job remains the #1 priority for everyone.
I joined Asakuba since I left school. I approached others to learn as I did not want to remain jobless. I feed my family with the little money I earn here. I save a portion for tough times.
With dozens of jobs created and his role vis-à-vis the population, the creative Asakuba hopes that his association will quickly be recognized as a real NGO, a legitimate ambition that would allow him to equip the association with more efficient equipment to provide shoes to the whole country, and also by further increasing its social impact among the populations.
Let's now get back to our guest, Eric Pounewatchy, who will now embark us on the other side of his double culture, his childhood in Sarcelles, in the Parisian suburbs. Let's hear more from him.
Let's go back to France, where you're currently filming the series The President's Lodge, with a focus on the inhabitants of sensitive neighborhoods, particularly young people who should feel concerned by politics. Why?
D'abord, il y a un problème qui se passe dans les banlieues.
First, there is a problem in the suburbs, communities withdrawing from civil duties, which sincerely frightens me. We have not lived like that. We have lived in harmony with everyone. And today, when you ask certain young people, are you going to vote? Many people tell you, well, many people say, we're not interested, it's not our problem. But how can France change? It's your country. If you want things to change, you must act, and you have to go and vote. And so it was important for me to do this series with a nod to all these young people who say it's not their problem. Actually, it is their problem. It's your problem. It's your country. It's up to you, the youth, to change things.
You spent your entire childhood in Sarcelles, a suburb of Paris. How did you experience this period of your life?
Les gens vont dire, ouais, on est nostalgique et tout ça. Non.
People will usually say, yeah, we're nostalgic and all that, but no, we live together. All the communities together. To this day, I have friends of Muslim origin.
D'origine, excusez-moi, j'ai des amis musulmans, j'ai des amis juifs.
I have Muslim friends, I have Jewish friends with whom we still have excellent relations.
Toujours d'excellentes relations. Je salue Karim Bouzidi, je salue Franck Brami.
I salute Karim Bouzidi, I salute Frank Brami. I think you know what I mean. And that was our Sarcelles. That was the Sarcelles. Take me, I'm a football fan. And in our football team, there were many black players. Some white, some Jewish, some Muslim.
Quelques musulmans. Et ben, quand on traitait le sang noir, on faisait qu'un.
So when I was called a nigger, we were united. Everyone would beat the crap out of those insulting us, like to make the point. And the same would apply if someone called a mate a goddamn Jew. But today's attitudes make it difficult. We had a great time together.
Nous avons vécu une excellente période, d'excellents moments.
But I don't think it's the same today with this kind of thinking.
Your first 2D animation film, Sarcelles Mon Amour, which you produced with your brother Bruno, highlights the richness of working-class neighborhoods and the fight against discrimination. Can you tell us more about this artistic creation? How did you live this experience as a family?
D'abord, Sarcelles Mon Amour est un projet.
Firstly, Sarcelles Mon Amour is a project written and directed by my brother Bruno. I helped him.
Bruno, moi je l'ai assisté. Des jeunes des quartiers difficiles ont participé.
Youngsters from rough neighborhoods took part in this 2D animated film.
Ils voulaient mettre en lumière. Je les suivis.
We wanted to highlight, and they wanted to highlight our town, Sarcelles, and all that it means to us.
Et en faisant participer des jeunes,
by involving the young and the not so young, it was a great experience, an enriching experience for all concerned.
Des deux côtés.
After so many projects and struggles to preserve your hometown and suburb, what do you want to put in perspective for the future? Do you have plans in Africa?
D'abord, j'ai des projets.
I have projects in Sarcelles and projects in France. For Africa, it's mainly in Bangui.
L'Afrique, principalement à Bangui, oui, j'aimerais faire un long métrage.
Yes, I would like to make the feature film, which has already been scripted.
Les choses prennent du temps. Et parce que, toujours dans cette même envie.
But well, things take time, and of course, with the same desire to share the movie-making experience I learned in France.
Cinématographique que j'acquiers en France, j'aimerais la faire partager
with directors and actors in Central Africa.
Il y a des comédiens centrafricains.
Well, that's it. Initiative Africa is over for today. You can, of course, find Eric Pounewatchy's interview and the replay of our programs on our website, africana.com, and you can also follow us on all our social media channels. Also, feel free to share, like, and comment with the hashtag Initiative Africa. And don't forget, next week, same time, same channel, I'll see you again with a new edition of Business Africa. Have a great week and goodbye.